there's this thing, as I'm under the logo, that's cool. This thing called National Novel Writing Month, which is November. It's happening very soon. NaNoWriMo. I'm not sure if I like that little moniker they made, but whatever. That's what it's commonly referred to as. Good luck trying to remember how to spell that, even though it's all the first letters of the name. I somehow am just the worst at it. So the goal of this is to write a novel in a month, or really just write a lot. It's up to you. It's a personal thing. It's up to you to write whatever you want in the month, 50,000 words. Now, that's a lot of words, in case you were curious as to how many words is that. It's a lot of words, and if you write something, it's going to be roughly printed on a little paperback thing. It's going to be about 100 something pages, 115, 20, something like that, depending. That's how much 50,000 words is going to be in a little book. I don't have my book because I have done this. I have done this for the last 3 years, not including this year because that hasn't happened yet. And I've succeeded every year. And so I'd kind of like to talk about it because I don't even talk or tell anyone that I've written. One year I didn't write a book. I just kind of did other writings, but I've written 2 novels, like full complete books. Which is, I mean, maybe fewer than 10 people know that I've even done that. Because they're not for sale. I'm like really gonna ever show them to anyone. Like, I just did it. I just did it for fun. And I do think National Novel Writing Month is super fun, but it can be very daunting, and there is a lot of work to do to meet that 50,000 word count. Is crazy, and maybe you might want to not even go there, right? You might want to start with a lower goal and see if you can reach that. It's a personal thing. It's an honor system anyway. If you lie about meeting the goal, that's really just like you're only screwing yourself over. There's not a competition. Well, it kind of is, because I win. No. So here's some tips. Since I've done it for 3 years, and sometimes I've completed. The first year I did it, I had like a couple extra days. Then last year, it was like the last hour. So it can vary, and there's some things you can do. Let me scroll down to my little notes here. Look at this. Oh, green screen, damn it. So it is a good idea to prepare, but there's also a bad idea. And for some people who write will want to have notes and an outline and all this. For the last 3 years, I didn't have more than the setup. Like, I knew how I wanted it to start, and I knew kind of some story events and where it was going, the end. And then I just wrote, right? Then you start and you go. Not a lot of preparation, but it can be good to prepare, because this year I am outlining more or less the entire idea I have. And it's taking a lot of time to do that, more than I thought. And that's good. And it's definitely a personal thing, and you want to make sure, regardless of which one you are prepared in how much preparation you have. Because you don't want to be starting on November 1st going, what should I write about? No. You should have the idea. You should be going forward with that already. You should know some characters and some plot points. Maybe you haven't written anything down yet necessarily, but you have an idea. The 1st of November for this is not a brainstorm day. It should be, here's the start of the story, let's go. And the goal, I would say, for the first day, write a couple thousand words. You need to write 1,667 words a day, which is a lot. It can be a lot, depending. So I would say the first day, when you're maybe super motivated and into it, you do a lot. On the weekends, you do a lot. We'll get to that with the time management one right here. A lot of these are based on time management, because that's the biggest thing. You might think, oh, I can write 1,600, almost 1,700 words a day. And you might be able to. It's not a super challenging thing to sit down and write 1,700 words. The thing is doing it every day. And then you start, as the month goes on, this day's a little short, and this day's a little short. And then you get to a point where you look at the calendar and go, well, I have a lot of time on the weekends, so if I write 4,000 words this Saturday, and then on Sunday another 4,000 words, that's when problems start happening, and the crushing weight of the 50,000 word count hits you. So you don't necessarily want to do that. You want to kind of meet that and exceed that. So if you can get out the gate with like 2,200 words, and then the next day maybe it's 1,500, just a little bit under, but you gave yourself a little padding. And whenever you can, you should be doing that. But also whenever you can, you should be writing. You should be writing. And this goes to my next kind of tip here. Oh, thanks for the logo being all messed up. Oh no. Alright, it got tabbed. Find a schedule. So whether it's you get home from work and you eat and then you write for a couple hours, do that. Maybe you wake up in the morning and you want to write. I don't know. That's weird to me. But whatever. You're going to need time for this. You're going to need a couple hours a day for sure-ish. I don't know. Some people maybe can write really quickly. But if you're one of those people who gets writer's block, which we'll get into in a minute, you're going to need a couple hours dedicated to this time. And it needs to be in an environment that is most comfortable for writing. So if you have a chair or whatever you like, pick the chair. I don't have to describe that anymore. Pick that's going to be the best, because you want to succeed. You want to put your phone away. You want to. I do all this on a computer on my old laptop that doesn't have a lot of my logins, so I can't look at Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. I haven't looked at Facebook in 6 months, but that's besides the point. You put it off to the side somewhere where you can't be distracted as much. Put on Spotify or anything and just go into it. Maybe even make a playlist for it. I remember there was, well, like every year that I've done this, I can think of like, oh, I remember I listened to Metric's discography as the first thing I listened to for the first year I did this. And that was awesome. That was the first couple of days of just listening through their like 6 albums or so at the time. I remember that. The year after that, there was this one song, I don't know who did it, but I kept like, this is a really cool song, and I kept putting it in the playlist over and over. And it was a motivational thing. I'm like, yeah, that song again. I'm going to keep writing. I really like the song. And I haven't listened to that song in probably 2 years, which is a good time now to start listening to it again. You want that. You want that good environment. Now, once you find that good environment, you find the schedule and you stick to it. That's the other thing. You have to stick to it. As soon as you start slipping and going, 200 words today isn't that bad, that's when you fail. That is straight up when you don't make it anymore. And it can be, I'm in the logo. It can be a bit of a sacrifice, because a couple hours a day dedicated to anything is going to cut into everything. And I think that's fine if you want to do this. If you're writing a novel, if you're even thinking about attempting this, you're probably, more skewed to wanting to do it anyway. This isn't something you'd randomly like, I guess I'll do this on a Saturday. My internet completely died. That's good. That's back. So there's that. But you're still going to have to sacrifice time. Like, this is maybe, like I play a lot of video games. I'm not going to play a lot of video games next month. I'm just not. Like maybe you like going out wherever, to a bar, to a circus, to the OK Corral. Probably not going to go to either of those places, any of those places, over the next month. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't want to. You should want to do this novel. It's a very fun and exciting thing to look at a Word document in a couple of weeks and be like, this is pages and pages and pages and pages. And I think that's great. I think it's awesome to do it. It's a very kind of overcoming your personal demons in certain respects of getting through it all and coming out the other side with a novel. Even if you fail, that's fine. As long as you don't write 5,000 words and give up in a week, then I'll give it to you. You know, like you gave it a try. But it's not that difficult if you just make some sacrifices and go into it. And the final tip, here you go, is to just write. Like just write. There are moments when you're not going to know, how do I get this character out of this situation, or like where is this going? Or what if I like, oh, I don't like how that happened, and you're gonna feel like you should sit there and plan it all out and think about what's going on and get too much in your own head. You need to be writing. 50,000 words is a lot. You need to be writing. You can't get hung up on, well, how should I describe this school bus? And you sit there for half an hour thinking and not describing or writing anything about the school bus. This is stuff like that you can do on a second draft when you're reading through it again and going, yeah, it was yellow and whatever. You can just go with the details. There's going to be moments when you get inspired to write something like a fight scene or something, and you're going into it and you don't want to get hung up on, well, what if they, and if they crash through the wall, like, but how does that, and maybe I need to look up some judo, and maybe I should use some terms, like, maybe you should, maybe now isn't the time, is the thing. And if you ever get stuck on a plot point, it really, I like to write, like the first two novels I wrote were very much just fly by what's happening, like we're just going. Let's see where we're going. And I'd get my main character trapped somewhere. Like, okay, there's this one sequence to a book no one will ever read where he's captured. It takes place in like the space and there's flying around. He gets captured, and before he gets captured, he stows away 3 or 4 items. And when I stowed away those items, I had no idea what I'd do with any of them. I just picked 4 items that I thought were interesting, that would be on the ship, that he could hide, etc. And then when he was captured, and they kind of talked through that, I walked myself through the scene as I'm writing the scene as it's happening, basically, in my mind. I don't really know where it's going to go or like what any of this does. And I was able to look at those items because now I'd written another 500 or whatever words past that point where I picked the items, had a little bit of time for them to kind of gestate in my mind, and I knew what to do with them. Okay, he can throw this over here, and that's going to distract this guard or whatever, and you can get out via this. You can kind of set yourself up these interesting little challenges of how do I get out of this? And that can be fun. Maybe that's daunting or whatever to not know what's happening or where it's going. But as long as you have that focal point or focus of, well, that's a focal point, where it's going, you can get there. If you want them to escape, you just have to know that. You don't have to know exactly how. You can get there however you get there. Does that make any sense? Probably not. No one's watching. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is writer's block. I don't think it necessarily, I think it's entirely avoidable. You get stuck and not know where to go. So maybe now's when you go back and add those details in to the bus, right? And then while you're doing that, you go, oh, but what if the character did this? And then you go back to where you were. Or you know there's something more you want to add to another scene later that's coming up. Write that scene and connect them. Some people write out of order. That's fine. Do that. Don't get hung up on something. Just because you don't know how to get out of this scenario or whatever, don't get hung up on it. Maybe it needs a surprise. You know, maybe it needs something coming out of the blue to kind of jolt the writing back to where it needs to be. And again, this isn't final. You're not turning this in and never going to be able to touch it again. So it's fine if it's like a little loose and like, I don't know, and then some things happen, and now we're continuing. You can do that on a second pass, and all all these NaMoRamo demos. I've done that. I've gone back. I'll usually go back once I'm at like 25,000 words. I'll go back and read the first 1,000 and edit and add stuff as I'm going, which kind of keeps characters to be the same and kind of ground yourself. And you can add in little details that are references to the future, or even as you're writing further, you can add details of the past. I think that's a fun time. But if anyone watches this, good luck. I think it's a fun thing to do. You don't have to win. Just trying makes you a winner. Unless you give up, then you're a loser. Don't be a loser. Don't do it. Don't do it. Now I'll go back to my normal video games and other assorted talk. But this whole episode is the best of the first year, so it's very self-indulgent. The entire thing. Because it's for me, not for you. It should be for you. Nope. Hey, the Pokemon are back.